The Second World War was the ideological crucible of the 20th century. In the wake of the Wall Street crash in 1929, Europe faced a dramatic economic downturn and mass unemployment, and visions of a peaceful, cosmopolitan Europe were soon replaced by ever more extreme nationalist visions. For the Nazis, war and territorial conquest provided the opportunity to construct a grandiose political and economic apparatus which would entrench their hegemonic status. According to historian Mark Mazower, the new order prevailed against the protectors of a dying epoch. More than ever before, Germans felt themselves to be living in historic times. And on the eve of the Western campaign, Hitler announced that the struggle now beginning will decide the fate of the German nation for the next 1,000 years. This was Goedel's time without precedent, in which the Führer would help build a new Europe by imposing its own order on conquered areas under Germany's dominion. A long-term plan that was implemented on June 22, 1941, with Operation Barbarossa. What were the nature, purposes, and aims of such an order? And how were they addressed? We shall see that they above all entailed the creation of a pan-German racially pure state and a planned economy to lead Germany to prosperity, although this is not an exhaustive list of the things to consider. One of Hitler's and the monopolists' main endeavors was to build up a new order of Nazi tyranny designed to set the German monopolists at the head of world economy. As decisive players in defining a country's overall success, and in the heat of global competition, Germany's economic and financial spheres were seen as important things to improve so that Germany could take the lead in Europe. And it was with this mindset that Hitler hoped to turn his country into a total blockade-proof autarky. To achieve economic independence and self-sufficiency, Hitler was inspired by the Soviet model and directed German capitalism in a way that would gear European industry to serve the Nazi war needs. With each advancement into new territories, such as Soviet Russia, efforts were made to harness material resources, and unemployed manpower was put to work. Although formerly independent countries were turned into spheres of regulated production, operating to an extent in harmony with their resources, they worked mainly in accordance with the requirements of the Nazi domination. And Hitler's planned economy was also in relation with the advancement for the modernization of peasant economy in France. Regions such as the Balkans were also to be drawn into Germany's production orbit so that they would be able to benefit from a greater number of resources. While prices and wages were regulated and technological advances began to make new strides, restrictions were imposed on capitalist proprietors, which allowed Germany to have a well-controlled order on its economy. Needless to say, the rapid rejuvenation of German capitalism under Hitler's new European order was not devoid of extreme measures such as a rapidly raised level of labor productivity and important state supervision, which incites the presence of key ideological beliefs. Alongside the rapid industrialization of agriculture for economic prosperity was therefore Hitler's racialist doctrine as the engine for European order. Indeed, Hitler imposed a strongly racialist ideology established on social Darwinist justifications to achieve European order. In 1922, he declared to an audience in Munich that there are only two possibilities, either victory of the Aryan or annihilation of the Aryan and the victory of the Jews. History, according to him, was therefore a process of racial struggle. Rather than committing to the current division of social classes and human ethnicities, which Hitler thought to be absurd and disorderly, the Nazis claimed to scientifically measure a strict hierarchy of human race whose highest tier was comprised of the pure stock of Aryans, which was narrowly defined as being identical with the Nordic race that maintained Western civilization to a large extent. By blaming the Weimar Republic's weakness on the influence of Germany's Jewish and communist minorities, who he claimed were trying to take over the country, Hitler was able to make anti-Semitism a Nazi consensus. And as Jews were represented as everything the Nazis found repugnant, such as finance capitalism, international Marxist communism, or even modernist cultural movements like psychoanalysis and swing music, Germanic order was to be brought upon Europe through the total annihilation of these inferiors. This, as a result, served as a crucial drive for German expansion into the Lebensraum, the historic destiny that would properly nurture the future generations of Aryans, which led, for example, to the invasions of Czechoslovakia and Poland. The Nazi racialist doctrine was therefore not only a considerable aspect of Hitler's European order because it organized Germany by separating people into differently valued races, but also because it was an ideology that promoted a cleansed Europe and living space for the future establishment of a greater Germanic Reich. It would therefore be accurate to conclude that Hitler's new European order was above all an economically and racially oriented campaign with the overriding objective of ensuring a state of total post-war continental hegemony for Nazi Germany. Combined with the political and economic subjugation of the rest of Europe to Germany, this was to be achieved by the expansion of the territorial base of the German state itself, but also by satisfying the desire to redraw state borders, transforming the existing geopolitical structures. However, as the interdependence of nations is increasing, any attempt at autarky brings out the growing need for the world market, whose orbit is narrowing due to the lack of buying power of the masses. How Germany will face the American empire in a deadly struggle for the control of economy and for the redivision of the world is the next big question.